So welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us today as we talk resources available for specifically for some of our artists and creative entrepreneurs in the region. So we have several local arts organizations joining us today, and some organizations with some art-focused events, including CultureWorks, the Collaboratory, and Downtown Dayton Partnership, who are working to gear up for art in the city, however that may look this year. So to kick off, we're going to give the organizations an opportunity to sort of give a brief update on some of their specific programs back to back, and then we'll open it up to questions, and you can direct questions to any of the presenters or organizations. Like I said, feel free to drop questions in the chat as we go, and we'll try to monitor that as well. So to kick off, I'm handing the mic over to Karen Maynor with CultureWorks. So, Karen,
hello. My name is appearing as admin on my end for some reason. But yes, I'm Karen Maynor. I'm the grants manager at CultureWorks, which is the Dayton Region's United Arts Fund and local area arts agency. And thank you, Audrey, for inviting us to talk a little bit about what we've got going on. We recently partnered with a local duo, Christopher Hahn and Jenna Valen from the Playground Theater Company. Some of you might be familiar with their work. They, at the very start of the stay-at-home orders, this was mid-March, right off the bat, they were thinking ahead and they said, how do we make sure that as people have to stay home, our local artists can still connect with area audiences? So they decided to create a new Facebook group called the Dayton Artist Stream. And they set it up just as a place for, artists to share videos of pieces that were supposed to premiere on stage that had to be canceled, visual artists to give studio tours and just talk about their artistic process, all kinds of things from every discipline. And we were very inspired by that. So after some discussions with our staff, Bill Perry, who I'll wave at up there, he is our development manager, and he had a fantastic idea, which was, why don't we partner with them so that we can provide funding for the artists who are doing this? Because obviously it's hard to charge ticket prices when you don't have an event venue, but we want to make sure that the community's artists are still getting paid for all of the incredible work that they do. So, Bill, do you want to talk a little bit about how the partnership is working?
Sure. It's actually been pretty inspiring to see the content that our local artists have been sending our way. For those of you who may not know, CultureWorks usually is in the middle of our workplace giving campaign right now. And one of the exciting things we can bring to the workforce is other artists in the community, so people can really see what it is we're trying to raise money for. So we said, you know what, if we can't bring it to your actual place of business, this is the new workplace for all of us right now. So we've had chalk artists, we've had painters, we've had vocalists, we've had people on cello, violin, just a wonderful, diverse cross-section of artists submit these videos. Now, the one requirement we do ask people to do, though, is give a little plug to CultureWorks at either the beginning or the end of it. And really, we want people to do two things. It's number one, it's share the video. One of the things I noticed early on when we first started working remotely is that I was sharing funny videos, emotional videos, entertaining videos coming from all of these nationally recognized organizations. And we went, well, hey, what about Dayton? So, we really want people to be aware that we do have this fantastic talent available right here in the Dayton region. And then number two, we ask people if they're able to give to CultureWorks. We understand that people are facing a lot of financial hardship right now, but the whole idea behind CultureWorks was just that concept that one gift can support multiple organizations and really benefit the whole arts ecosystem right here in the Dayton region. So I've been excited about it. It's actually inspired some funding from Montgomery County as well. So we really do have this opportunity where if we are not able to provide an artist relief fund per se and grant dollars to artists, what we can do is pay them to do the work that they love to do. So we figure that's really the next best thing. So it's exciting. It's still going on. And if you haven't been a part of it or know anyone else who can be a part of it, please get creative and we'll be happy to share it.
Yes, and the artist stipends, I don't know if you mentioned this part, but we're paying $150 for your videos. And we're working, like Bill said, with artists of all disciplines. So we've seen dancers submit pieces. Visual artists have given tours of their exhibits. We had, as he mentioned, a chalk artist who kind of did an overview of a lot of work that he had done out in the community before all of this started. Tunde Rodriguez is a local textile artist, and she talked about her process and actually showed a piece of artwork being made. So it's really open to every discipline. We would love to see more writers and poets on there as well, and I know at least one writer in this call right now. So definitely keep it in mind. A couple things just to keep in mind if you would like to submit is that if you use any kind of music in the background, you want to make sure that it's a Creative Commons piece or something that you have the license to use, just because we want to be respectful of other artists and make sure that they're being compensated appropriately. So there's a full breakdown of all of the rules and instructions on how to do it available on the CultureWorks website, but probably the easiest way to find it is going directly to that Dayton Artist Stream Facebook page, which I can link in the chat here in just a moment. But if you have any questions about it, please feel free to reach out to us. As Bill mentioned, we started with a grant that we typically use to provide free performances to the public in workplace giving sites, and then the Montgomery County Arts and Cultural District actually doubled the amount of funding that we have available. So we still have plenty of funding to distribute, and we'd love to give it to you incredible artists. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. And jumping to our next mini presentation, Peter Beckendorf with the Collaboratory. I'm going to transfer you, make you the presenter if I find you in my little chat. So take it from here. And then just a reminder, we will be doing Q&A at the end of our back-to-back presentations. So keep those questions handy.
Great. Thanks, Audrey. I just put up in the chat. So 3.5 weeks ago, we launched a new e-commerce website called EssentialArtistsDayton.org, and it is open to any visual artist to set up their own personal e-storefront, e-gallery. We recognize that the last 2 months have been challenging. Coffee shops, restaurants, galleries, all the places that artists show work, have not been accessible. So this was something that Dave Best from Code for Dayton came up with. He called me, and we're really excited about how it's going. It's open to any visual artist. Right now, there's no cost for artists to participate, at least through the end of May. There's currently, I think, 41 artists who are live. We've passed $5,000 in sales so far. We keep getting inquiries. I think this is going to have a long shelf life, well beyond what its initial intention was. I think there's some other things we can do with it. We are looking for artists who want to work with us. I know we're looking to try and put a curated gallery together so we can put shows together both virtually, and then eventually we'd like to use the Essential Artist brand to do live shows, visual art shows, exhibitions out in the community. It is what it is. There's not much to say about it other than we want to encourage any artist who wants to get involved to open up your storefront. There's a lot of tech support, and I think some of the artists have been extremely successful, and so a lot of work, a lot of commissions have been generated. It's just been a great place to get exposure. We're very aggressive on Instagram and Facebook. We do tell our artists that you also have to market your own page as well. But we're excited to be able to support artists, local visual artists, to have a venue to be able to at least not only show their work but sell their work. So I'm not sure what more there is to say. It's a pretty straightforward concept.
Thank you, Peter. And then our last little mini presentation, Jamie Pack with Downtown Dayton Partnership to talk about some opportunities at some upcoming DDP events.
Hi, can you hear me? I'm going to apologize in advance if my dog starts barking. She barks at everything that moves, so apology. And I'm not sure there's a lot of artists in Dayton that don't actually know about Dayton, Downtown Dayton Partnership, because we're usually more focused on the business side of things. But basically, we are a nonprofit organization, and our main focus is making downtown Dayton a better place to be. And one of the main ways that we do that is through special events. So some of the events that you might have heard of that we currently are doing our Dayton Holiday Festival, Summer in the City. We ended up having to cancel, but we are working on the big Hoopla event in the Oregon District. We did the Gem City Shine back in August, and we typically do First Friday, which has looked a little bit different. We've been working with CultureWorks and DSA and the Contemporary and Peter on collecting content. So we haven't been actually paying people for First Friday, but we have been taking all of the art that we can and putting it on our Facebook page and event and making it live for the public. And we have a pretty large reach on social media and through our website. So we've been trying to get the word out there that these artists are there and that they're putting their tip jars out. And we actually had a pretty decent May, and I think our first one was in April, and it was a little bit smaller. And then once as everybody started hearing about it, we had almost 20 live performances going on last May. And so we're encouraging anyone that would like to participate. Music, we had a chalk artist, we had some live drawings, even YouTube videos that we've been linking, and just to get the word out that, artists need our support too. And then our major thing for art is Art in the City. And this year it's taking place on August 7th. We are doing it no matter what. We just don't know exactly what it's going to look like. So I'm in the process of planning it in 3 different ways, of entirely virtual, partially virtual, and then our normal live event. So if you don't know about Art in the City, it's huge. We like to put art in places that normally art wouldn't be. So in businesses, on street corners, in the lobbies of, some of the towers downtown. So we want to connect the businesses with the arts. And last year we had over 400 performers, and they were all paid a stipend. And how that gets figured out is in terms of how long the performance is and, that kind of stuff. So it's a little bit of a process, but we are still reaching out and trying to find as many artists that want to participate in all 3 ways, or one can do one different way, or however that looks. I believe Eva has a thing out right now that's looking for artists that want to participate currently. And we try to include as many different mediums as possible. So theater, music, art demos, sculpture, interactive art. One of the big things that we're trying to focus on this year is getting the community involved. So last year we had our first grant program, and it was a community engagement project. And Jess McMillan from the Macmillan Institute, she actually won the grant, and she did a mosaic. And I'm like, there's a lot of things to talk about. It was a mosaic diamond, and it's going to be put in the sidewalk in front of the arcade when it's completed. So how it worked was anybody could come up and put their piece in and actually be a part of the project. So it was really exciting, and it was very popular. So we're looking for more of those things. We do have a grant this year, but again, our process is a little bit different. We did put an application out. It is on our website, and we're just looking for as many ideas as we possibly can. So that's where we are with Art in the City.
Audrey, I see your lips moving.
Sorry, I forgot to unmute myself. Go figure. Um, Jamie, could you drop that link to the community project application that you mentioned in the chat? And then one other organization that wasn't able to hop on the call today, Amanda Grieve with Dayton Society of Artists. For April and May, they've been hosting free online meetups, artist talks, and workshops. And then beginning late May and early June, they started supporting artists online workshops where member artists who have lost opportunities through the stay-at-home order will be offering digital workshops, and 100% of the profits from those workshops will go directly to the artists. And then they also recently launched an artist directory so people can search member artists by name or medium. And then they've moved their exhibitions online. So that is another resource. And at this point, that's sort of a quick roundup of some different things that are happening in the community. So I know there were a couple of questions already dropped in the chat. I believe they were for the Culture Works and the Dayton Artist stream. Is it only videos that are acceptable, and are there required terms as far as how long the video has to be or that sort of thing?
We are at this time, we are looking just for video content. There's no set time limit though. We're recommending 5 minutes on social media tends to play well, but I think we're open to, up to 20. It really depends on the nature of the work. We've had musicians do classical pieces that were, longer than that 5-minute length. But of course, if you're going to do something like perform a poem, it might be shorter. So it's really just whatever makes the most sense for the discipline that you work in. And I'll also send the Culture Works page that talks a little bit more about the Dayton Artist stream. And there's a link from this page that gives the full requirements if you'd like to do one of the videos considered for the $150 sponsorship. The other thing I wanted to just mention was that you can submit to Dayton Artist Stream without, if you don't want to be considered for the $150 stipend, you can still submit directly to them as well. So this is just an option that we're putting out there to pay artists. But if you don't want to do the different video requirements for Culture Works, then you can still share content through the page. So
I'd like to just chime in as a great example of how Culture Works and even Downtown Dayton Partnership happen to work together as a result of this project. We were contacted by a local artist who had videotaped herself creating art. It was a good 20-minute video, though, which was a little lengthy and not necessarily what we would recommend for the Dayton Artist stream. But we're always willing to work with artists as well. So, we'll send you an email saying maybe you want to try it this way. So what she did is actually condense that video down to about a good 4 minutes, nice and digestible, put a link to the full video when we shared it on there so people could see her whole process and try it out for herself. And then she was so excited to participate in, she'd never done a live stream before, or Facebook Live. So I sent her over to the folks at Downtown Dayton Partnership and said, maybe you want to do this as part of their first Friday. And she replied back saying this was fun, this was new, it wasn't something she'd ever thought of before. So just one small example of how someone didn't even think she could participate and ended up participating in a whole new way.
Yeah, she was great.
There was a question dropped in the chat about the artist-led workshop. So I dropped a link just to the Dayton Society of Artists page and a contact email to reach out to someone there. I am not sure exactly what that process is to get set up, but Amanda should be able to help you. And then does anybody else have some questions or comments, or feel free, like I said, to drop in the chat or unmute yourself and jump into the conversation here. Say if there aren't some specific questions for the presenters, we'll turn the table slightly since we have some artists on the call, and just ask what are some of the things that you need, and how can we be supporting you additionally or in some other ways as well, as we all sort of navigate the unknown terrain that we're in currently. Melanie, you are unmuted.
Thank you. Yeah, I had two questions. One, I am part of two different co-op galleries, both of which are still closed. One in Front Street Buildings and then one in Yellow Springs at the Village Artisans. We've all been kind of talking together as groups as far as, you know, a platform. What would we do to like get like our art on something? I mean, some type of art. We weren't sure whether to just like post our work on Facebook for sale, you know, on our individual Facebooks for the two galleries, or whether something like, you know, or a Culture Works, would that be something we could do like a video of everything in the gallery for people maybe that don't know we exist? We're up for ideas.
I can tell you from First Friday that people really like the behind the scenes tours. So just a few minute video with your phone talking about some of the pieces. We're doing a housing tour right now, and that's part of our content for that. And it's a big hit because it's not something that people get to see very often. And it's kind of a new way to use this format. So it feels like new content, not just pictures, but we've also had photo galleries of different shows, and they've all been received very well. So, I mean, anything you can get up there is definitely helpful.
Okay, so maybe it might work better with something like that for like individual artists to maybe stand in front of their space and explain a little bit about what they do. Maybe if they have visual examples, like I'm a printmaker and I'm quite a talker when people come. I mean, I've got stories about all my art. I've got, you know, I really intertwine with people when they come in. But, you know, with plates, you know, I've usually got like a dry point plate. I explain to them how, you know, how prints are created, how etchings are printed and so forth. And I've usually got like a little video that I can show them when people come to my space. So are you talking about something like that would be more beneficial or helpful, more useful in something like the Culture Works or on our Facebook page?
I'd go to say I'd go for really all of the above. I think to Jamie's point, you know, it's people do love behind the scenes opportunities. You know, sometimes we can be so immersed in our own work that we forget that other people don't get to see this. So even a glimpse of the process, the studio, anything you have, whet their appetite a little bit. It might even be helpful if whoever's videotaping you, you know, it doesn't have to be professional. I think that's one of the great levelers right now is that we're all learning how to use technology. This is the video camera that we're all getting used to right now. No one's expecting it to be a movie quality production, but there's something I think that's almost even more appealing when it comes to that, is that they do realize this is real. These are real people. This is how they're working. You don't have to give it all away too. Give them a little taste. Say, hey, if you want to see more of my great artwork, direct them to your website. Direct them to your social media pages. I know something like that in a 4 or 5 minute video would be an excellent thing for the Dayton Artist stream, whether it just be a standalone showcase. If you're willing to plug the Culture Works campaign too, you can get that stipend as well. It's all about that collective experience. And I think what you're talking about, that would be so neat just to see what's out there.
Okay, well, that's a great idea. Thank you very much. And I did see Mr. Binkendorf mention Essential Artist on the screen. I am in that group. And it has taken me a lot of time to like, you know, post all the individual photos and just taken me a while to get the hang of getting it on there. I'm like, I don't know if I'm up for doing that for 16 people.
You got to make them do that.
so they can have access to get on there. So we would just like when we filled out the application, we'd be able to put all of their emails in there, I guess, so they can have access to post their own things online.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you can do it both ways. I got a call from Yellow Springs yesterday. And if you want to set up, like, I don't know if you're part of the artery, but if you want to set up an artery page in Essential Artists, and then I mean, again, if you guys decide to do it, that's great. And as many of the individual artists from the artery, I mean, they have to have their own initiative to set up their own pages, but you can decide if you want to have an artery page, and same with the Yellow Springs Artist Co-op. I mean, there's no reason, because there is, in addition to your products tab, you also have an about tab, and so you can put links, as Bill was just mentioning, you can put links to, some people are using Essential Artists as an additional marketing vehicle, but they have their own website, and so you can link it to your videos, to your website, to other, it just becomes another entry point for that. So I'll reach out to Dave Best, who's our tech guru, to find out what more that can be done. I mean, that's the advantage that we have, is that you don't have to go create your own website and do all those sort of things. It allows you an easy way to get started. So, but we're pretty flexible in trying to accommodate whatever the artists need.
Awesome. Thank you, sir.
You can call me Peter, by the way. Mr. Benkendorf was my dad.
I'm from the South. I Mr. and Miss people in the grocery store line. I can't help it. They have acne face and be 17, 18 years old. Yes, sir. Thank you. I can't help it.
And we had one question in the chat. Is there a resource for freelance and or contracted jobs for artists, especially writers?
So I don't know of one specifically. I've got a brother actually who's been laid off, and he's been looking for work. One of the things that I have been impressed, though, if you look for, depending on the type of writer, check out Indeed. When they ask you for location, look for remote. I think this is one of the things that's been interesting with regards to this process, is we're all getting used to being together alone. I've seen some interesting opportunities out there. Some of it's technical, some of it's creative. But people still need content.
Another thing I would check out, if you don't already, but submittable.com is the website that a lot of literary journals use when they're doing calls for submissions, but you can also, they have a filter feature, and you can also use it to find things like fellowships and internships. And I've seen, just skimming through it, some postings for freelance work for artists. I didn't take a close look to see what was out there for writers, but that's a great resource for people.
Can you drop that link in there, Karen? Thank you.
And writing is also can be included in the Art in the City. We are always looking for new ways. So if you have an idea for the grant even, or if you have content, or you want to teach a class or anything like that, if you have any ideas, feel free to let us know.
I've caught questions in, I think I've caught them all in the chat, but if I missed yours, please jump in. And if not, sort of, anybody else want to jump in? Going once, going twice kind of deal? Awesome. Then I think we're going to wrap up for the day. Thank you all for hopping on and joining us today and bringing your questions and your feedback. I will be sending, I mentioned at the beginning, but we are recording this and we'll be posting the recordings, and I will also send the link in a follow-up email. If you register through Eventbrite, then I have your email. If you did not register through Eventbrite, but you want that follow-up, please drop your email in the chat so that I can grab it from you and make sure that you're on my list later today. I guess I didn't say anything about my organization, but Launch Dayton as a collective effort from several entrepreneurial support organizations in the Dayton area, just to provide info, connect people, provide workshops and opportunities for aspiring and new entrepreneurs to help grow your business. So if that's something that you're interested in, we've seen a growing community of artists and creative entrepreneurs at our events over the last year and a half. So we're trying to meet those needs and provide programming that is relevant to you all as well. So if there's some things that you want to see or things you want to learn about, please feel free to drop me a line with some of those ideas and requests as well. But otherwise, thank you panelists from all of our organizations, CultureWorks, the Collaboratory, Downtown Dayton Partnership. Thank you all for making the time and hopping on today and sharing about the work that you're doing.
Thank you so much, everyone. You did wonderful.